Hello, and welcome back to our Throwback Thursday show where we review key concepts that we've discussed in previous shows on unpacking Mormonism and other religious trauma, and also some things that we've discussed on raising crazy growing up to show up. I'm your host, Sarah Westbrook, and it's really great to be here today. Today, we're going to talk about boundaries, and I've actually done a review show, I don't remember when, on boundaries before. But boundaries are something that are frequently misunderstood in my clinic as I work with clients. So here you are here's my clinic. So that way you guys can see this is the behind the scenes. And Calvin, my service animal, is sitting over there playing the role of the client today. But this is where I spend most of my workday meeting with clients. Most of the time, when I start talking about boundaries with clients, one of the things that we tend to talk about, or one of the things that a lot of the clients will say to me is that they're utilizing boundaries and that people aren't honoring their boundaries. And so they shift their boundaries, hoping to get a different response from somebody else. And so one of the things that I say quite frequently, I actually made a little meme for this. So this is Sarah's quote of the day, is that boundaries are actually meant to protect the individual who sets them. When I set a boundary, it's about me. And a lot of times people will say, oh, well, that's very narcissistic. And it's not meant to be. The boundary is meant to help make sure that I am living, surviving, maneuvering in environments and with people where I feel safe, where I feel heard, where I feel valued, where I feel comfortable. And so the boundaries that I set are meant to be protections for myself and for my children. And really what I'm protecting is my safety. And that's, we talk about physical safety, spiritual safety, emotional safety, but just safety in general. And the other thing that I say a lot in clinic is that when we set boundaries as a way to, or as an attempt to control somebody else's behavior, we're actually fracturing those relationships. If I'm setting a boundary to control somebody else, there's a lack of trust going on in that relationship. And this isn't just about intimate relationships. These are about relationships anywhere. I love what Brene Brown said. And so, Alex, if you can pull up that Brene Brown quote, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Because the boundaries that I set are about honoring and respecting myself. They're about loving myself. And Brene Brown is very famous with her statements that you can't love somebody else more than you love yourself. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And boundaries are the tool or the skill that we do that to protect our peace, so that we can honor and respect our authenticity and who we want to be. The way, Alex, if you can pull up the Sarah quotes again, I would appreciate that. One of the things that I want to do is I want to kind of give you an example of this that actually occurred recently in my own home. For those of you who listen to our podcast know that Sarah has a little bit of a potty mouth. Mason was in the Army for years. We both grew up Mormon. Swearing is very discouraged in the Mormon community. It's considered very vulgar speech. It's considered mindless. And I find swearing for me is very cathartic. I swear a lot with my clients. I feel like it really opens up the non-judgmental space and that freedom to express who you are and what you are. And so for me, swearing is a part of my everyday life. Mason doesn't mind when I swear most of the time, but he absolutely hates the F word. And the other day we were in our kitchen and we were talking and I dropped an F-bomb and Mason became very agitated. And one of the things that he said when we were able to talk about it later was that he was really struggling with the fact that in order for me to be my authentic self, that he had to hear a word that is really offensive to him, and that he just doesn't like it when I utilize that word as casually as I do in our home. Now, Mason set a boundary, and his boundary is, I don't want the F word used in that manner in our home. Like, I don't mind the occasional dropping of the F bomb, but the way that I was doing it at the time, and I couldn't even really explain it. It would take me a long time to kind of articulate. It's one of those, you had to be there to see how my use of the F word was offensive to Mason. So he set that boundary of, I really don't want to be around people when they are utilizing the F word in that manner. Now, Mason set an appropriate boundary with me, because in no way was he trying to control my behavior. Rather, he was letting me know how bothersome my use of that word and that manner is for him. And he asked me to stop, but he was also willing to exit the room if I felt like that's what I needed to do. His boundary is, if that's what you're going to do in those moments, then please understand that I'm going to excuse myself and I'm going to go do something else. And I will work on becoming agitated when you do that. I will work on recognizing that I don't have to listen to it, that I can get up and leave so that you can joke around in that manner with our children. And we currently are fostering 3 teenagers in our home right now. And so for him, he's like, if that's how you feel that you need to connect and communicate and foster healthy relationships with these troubled kiddos, then I will honor that, but I'm going to leave the room, and please understand that that's what I'm doing. That was a boundary that Mason set for himself. He doesn't like that word being utilized because it makes him uncomfortable. It makes him, he said, feel like he's got a knot in his stomach, and he doesn't like the way that it makes him feel when it's utilized that casually. But in no way was he trying to control my behavior or silence my voice. Rather, he said, if you're going to utilize that, then my self boundary is to remove myself from that. And Sarah, I want you to understand that that's what I'm doing, and that it's not me being mad at you, and it's not me punishing you. It's me protecting myself from feeling uncomfortable. Again, with that Brene Brown quote, when she says that setting the boundary is a way to demonstrate loving yourself enough that you're okay with disappointing others. This was Mason's way of saying, I have enough respect for myself that I don't want to feel like this in my own home as I am bantering and playing with people who I love. I would appreciate it if you stop. Now, sometimes boundaries are a lot more, strong. They're a lot thicker. Maybe that's the word that I will use. And I see that in my relationship with my parents. I set a boundary with my father that he could not be with my children unsupervised, because I felt like the teasing and the disciplinary actions that he was using was very harmful. Unfortunately, he could not honor that boundary. And so I've had to cut contact entirely in order to keep myself and especially my children safe from behaviors that I feel are abusive and manipulative and harmful to them. I had to disappoint others. My goal is not to say, Dad, you have to change. I said so. But rather, Dad, if you want to spend time with us, these things need to change. And if they don't, I'm going to put some distance between us. And I recognize that that's going to disappoint me. It's going to disappoint my children. It's going to disappoint you. And it did have a negative impact on my relationship with my siblings and other members of my family of origin. But I'm going to continue to honor that boundary, because that boundary keeps myself and my children safe. It keeps the peace in my home. And I feel that it influences positively in my children's long-term self-worth. Boundaries are meant to protect us, not control others. And as we begin to be able to accept that shift and that accountability that my boundaries are about me and what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to engage with, we're really able to utilize boundaries in a much healthier way that enhances trust and builds connection within our relationships. So I'm wondering if we have any questions today for our Throwback Thursday before we go. So we have no questions today. I know our time today was a little bit unpredictable and that this time is a little bit difficult for a lot of people to join us in. And so as you join later, please feel free to email me your questions. I had a great conversation with a listener who asked not to have that content shared here, but I want to let our listeners know that I am very open to having those conversations. You just need to shoot me an email at daisygirlcommunications@gmail.com. I had a fabulous, very in-depth back and forth relationship with one of our listeners on last week's content, where I felt like both of us were able to gain some insight and some understanding that was positive for both of our lives. And so if you are listening to this and you have a question about boundaries, please feel free to email me. Again, that email address is daisygirlcommunications@gmail.com. And you can always visit our website at www.daisygirlcommunications.com. If you'd like to be on our monthly newsletter and hear about upcoming announcements and updates on my book release, we'd love to see you there. You just go to that homepage, you scroll down a little bit and put your email address in to sign up for our newsletter. So thanks so much, and we will see you next time.
Introducing Zaxby's new chicken finger tacos. One with pico and creamy chipotle ranch, and the other with bacon and avocado ranch. Chicken expert since 1990. Taco expert since now. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.